Hey everyone, in this chapter we're going to address creating the contact us form functionality. So as far as XML goes, we've created everything for featured work and news. This will actually not have anything to do with XML. We will use a PHP file though for processing all the data and sending the actual email. So let's check out the email file over here. So you should check out this note. So you should really most likely have your email be have the same domain as where your PHP file is. So this yourserver.com should actually be the same domain as where you are actually having your email, and the file should be on the same server. Otherwise, the only thing that you'll need to change over here is this email at yourserver.com, because that's the actual email that's going to receive the whole form. So when the user is going to click send or submit, you're actually going to receive that form with the question, with the email name and the IP of the user to this email. Otherwise, this is I'm not going to explain this PHP. It's pretty basic, and everything it does is processes that data that you're sending from the flash through post method, and it's actually sending the email forward. Let's check out our structure over here. So I took all of the elements and created the form movie clip, named it, given it an instance name of form, and on this other layer I've put all the text fields, which are actually the text fields that allow us to inform the user of any problems or success in the process. So to go inside, we have the input name, input mail, and input content fields over here. This is a submit button. Okay, and over here, let's just check this one out. Yeah, it's okay. This one is underscore sent. This one is error message, and this one is empty fields. So all of these we make we set the visible property to false, so they're invisible in the beginning, and we only show them when we need to show them. These variables will house the actual length of characters, so how many characters you have in any of the input fields, because if we have 0 in any of them, obviously we don't want to send that kind of form that hasn't been properly filled out, and you'll get the message fill out all the fields. Okay, so let's get working. First of all, we'll add an event listener to our submit button, and this is going to be a mouse event, and click and on submit. So we're going to create a function on submit evt mouse event void open and close, and we're going to submit our form with this function. First of all, we'll create a URL request, like that, and we'll pass in the mailer.php, because that is the actual file that we want to load up. Secondly, we'll create the URL variables, equals new URL variables, and the third variable will be loader. Here we go. So the URL request is going to load up the file. The URL variables are going to store the variables that will send when we actually load the file, and we'll send all of that through post methods to our PHP file. So let's fill in the vars, and this will be the actual data that we'll send to the PHP. So first of all, sender equals form input mail dot text. Secondly is subject equals form dot input name dot text, and vars message equals form dot input content dot text, like that. So we are storing all of our input fields, so whatever the user has written, into our vars over here. Secondly, we are going to measure the length, like that, of all of our inputs. So input name dot length dot text dot length, and let's copy and paste that 2 times. And what we need is also mail length and content length. And for mail length we need input mail, and for content length we need input content, like so. Now let's set up the request equals URL request method dot post, because we're using the post method, and request data equals vars. So we are storing, we are passing all the vars along through the post method. And after we have all of that set up, we can add the event listener to our loader. So loader add event listener, and let's say event dot complete sent, and loader dot add event listener, and we'll have an IO error event IO, so in case we get an error, so we can report on it. And also we'll create a conditional, so if statement name length is greater than 1 and mail length is greater than 1 and content length is greater than 1, then load my loader. So loader load request. Okay. Else, so if we don't have characters in any either of our fields, then we want to say missing, it's empty fields actually, empty fields dot visible equals true. So when we click, we're going to create all of the URL request. We were going to create the URL request, the URL variables, the loader, fill in all the data, measure the length of all of our input fields, and then we're going to either execute it or display the appropriate text, right? So if we have empty fields, then we're going to display that the fields are empty. And here we go. Secondly, we need a function called send, which is going to happen when and if our request gets complete. So the actual email gets sent through PHP. Visible equals false, or at least the actual PHP loads. Then sent visible equals false, true actually. And if we had empty fields before, we don't want them anymore over here, because it's been sent and we don't want to bother the user with this information. It's really not relevant to him. Okay, so if we run this, hopefully there's an error. Let's check it out. Access of undefined, unable to send. Yeah, of course we are missing the function that will report if the actual loading failed. So unable to send, evt io error event void, and over here we'll say that the error, the actual error, and let's just check out the message. So this is the error message. Here we go. The unable to send will make this one visible. So visible equals true, and that's it. So let's run it and check out the contact form. We submit without doing anything, but if we write in some information, let's make it pretty. and my question. Submit. It's sent. Right now, because we're not working through the server, it doesn't really get sent, but it would work if we had a real email in here. Okay, and if we actually sent it through the server. All of these though, so let's just lock this one up, select all of the text and make it not static, but let's go in here and let's not make it selectable. Doesn't really make much sense for these fields to be selectable. So selectable, and let's copy, paste, paste. And if we run this now, contact us, submit, we can select this. Let's also check out the fields. Okay, so unlock and double click. We do want multi-line over here. Not for these guys, but for that one we want multi-line, because if we have more information than this edge actually can take in a single line, then we want to go to the next one, not just keep writing to infinity. So now if I actually, oh yeah, and that's the problem then. So if we add the multi-line for an unknown reason, because we can go back up here, and if I run this, I'm not sure why this happens, but you do get your cursor also in the second line. I mean, it's possible. Seems like it adds some value by default. Not really sure why that happens, but anyway, we can say where do we have it? So this is the input content text. Right in the beginning, we can say equals. And now we're emptying it, forcing it to have no content, and now we can't get to the second line until we actually write enough content. And let's just type something quickly to get to that second line, or press command enter, of course, right? Okay, so that's our contact form. It's nothing too complex. You don't really need to understand what's going on in this PHP, as long as you understand that this needs to be the email that you want to get the form sent to, and you do follow these instructions over here. The Flash part is using URL loaders with requests and variables to actually request the PHP file, store all the appropriate information from the input fields in those variables, and then if you're ready, load everything up and send the variables through post method, and here are the variables that get attached to your request. Okay, and that's the line that actually loads it if you have anything to send at all. Okay, so that's it for the contact form. Now we'll actually go and we'll build the full screen functionality for our website, which also you'll see is very simple. And after that, the loader, and then we're actually going to wrap up with this tutorial. Okay, see you in the next chapter.